The time is 6 o'clock on Oluyole 98.5 FM, Ibadan.
The news.
Good evening. This is Dotun Oluyole. Reading with me is
Oluyole.
Bringing you Newscope, our daily news program of in-depth reports, interviews, and commentaries. First, the highlights. IGP Disu reads riot act against jungle justice.
INEC projects over 100 million registered voters ahead of 2027.
NDLEA smashes cocaine cartel, arrest fleeing drug kingpin.
Student kills schoolmate, self in Philippine school attack.
Now the details. The Inspector General of Police, Tunde Disu, has warned Nigerians against taking the law into their own hands, declaring that anyone who assaults or kills a suspect through mob action, popularly known as jungle justice, will face murder charges. The IGP said mob justice can no longer be excused as community action, stressing that those involved in such acts risk the death penalty under Nigerian law. The police chief also warned that those who incite, organize, film, circulate videos of mob attacks, or prevent police intervention could be prosecuted for conspiracy to commit murder, which carries a prison sentence of up to 14 years. IGP Disu revealed that he has directed commissioners of police across the 36 states and the FCT to treat every case of mob action as homicide and conduct full-scale investigations using available forensic and intelligence tools. The inspector's directive comes amid growing concerns over extrajudicial killings, including the recent deaths of a 25-year-old University of Jos graduate, Ibrahim Mbaya, who was allegedly beaten to death after being accused of stealing an iPhone 12.
President Tinubu has described the nation's universities as critical partners in the nation's developmental agenda. He charged them to produce graduates capable of responding to the realities of a rapidly changing global economy. President Tinubu said the country could not achieve sustainable economic transformation without corresponding investment in human capital. He urged them to move beyond the traditional awarding degrees by turning centers of innovation, practical skills, research and national development. According to him, Nigerian universities must produce graduates who are not only academically certified but innovative, ethical, digitally competent, entrepreneurial, adaptable and capable of solving real-world problems.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has projected that the number of registered voters in Nigeria will exceed 100 million ahead of the 2027 general elections. The National Commissioner and Chairman of INEC's Information and Voter Education Committee, Mohammed Haruna, disclosed this on Tuesday in Abuja at the Commission's joint implementation meeting of the Departments of Voter Education and Publicity and Gender and Inclusivity. Haruna said the existing voter register stood at more than 93 million, adding that the figure was expected to cross the 100 million mark when the recently concluded nationwide continuous voter registration CVR exercise is finalized. He said the development will further position Nigeria as Africa's largest electoral democracy. The meeting was organized to develop a communication and inclusivity roadmap for the 2027 general elections, with emphasis on ensuring that the elections are free, fair, credible, peaceful, and inclusive.
Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has stressed that no eligible Nigerian voter must be left behind during the 2027 general election. Its chairman, Professor Joash Ojo Amokwiton, SAN, said this on Tuesday after commencing intensified preparations for next year's general election. The Commission launched preparations for the exercise with a joint implementation meeting of its voter education and publicity and gender and inclusivity departments, focusing on coordinated voter mobilization. It reinforced its firm's commitment to ensuring that the elections are credible, inclusive, participatory and reflective of the will of the Nigerian people. The National Commissioner and Chairman of the Information and Voter Education Committee, Malam Mohammed Haruna, said the Commission's immediate priority was to develop and implement effective information and communication strategies capable of mobilizing Nigerians of voting age to participate actively in the 2027 general election.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory FCT, Nyesom Wike, has ordered the immediate demolition of houses and other structures obstructing waterways in Maitama and other flood-prone areas of Abuja. The minister gave the directive today after inspecting the areas of Maitama affected by flooding following days of heavy rainfall in the nation's capital. He directed that the demolition exercise commences immediately and continue until Saturday, stressing that neither political considerations nor the status of property owners would stop the enforcement action. According to him, structures found to be obstructing waterways and drainage channels must be removed to restore the free flow of storm water and tackle the causes of recurring flooding in the city.
The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has dismantled an international cocaine trafficking cartel that allegedly used Nigeria as a transit hub for moving illicit drugs to the United Kingdom, other parts of Europe and Asia. The agency also arrested the alleged Nigerian arrowhead of the syndicate, a self-styled luxury goods dealer and social media influencer Afolabi Michael, popularly known as KC Luxury, as he attempted to flee the country. A statement by the agency spokesman, Femi Babafemi, on Tuesday said the chairman and chief executive officer of the NDLEA, Brigadier General Mohammed Marwa, retired, disclosed this while addressing newsmen in Lagos today. Marwa described the operation as one of the most significant narcotics investigations undertaken by the agency in recent times, saying it led to the seizure of 184.50 kilograms of cocaine, the largest cocaine seizure made through a courier company in Nigeria.
The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, Cross River State Command, has dismantled a transnational fraud syndicate operating in Calabar and rescued 42 victims held in a secret indoctrination camp. The operation carried out targeted a 5-bedroom facility used by the syndicate to lure, defraud, and indoctrinate job-seeking youths under the guise of a multi-level networking company. The State Commandant, C.C. Okarazu Eke, disclosed this today during a press briefing at the command's headquarters in Calabar. According to him, the syndicate advertised a non-existent foreign job opportunities in countries like South Africa, Malaysia, and Ivory Coast to prey on desperate youths. During the raid, operatives rescued 42 individuals aged between 22 and 36 years. The breakdown of those in custody includes 28 Nigerian males comprising both victims and accomplices, 6 Nigerian females, 5 Cameroonian nationals, and 3 Beninois nationals. The commandant noted that all 8 foreign nationals were found without valid international travel documents.
The former chairman of the Oluyole State Universal Basic Education Board, Professor Soji Adejumo, has called for sustained investments in education, agriculture and human capital development as part of efforts to accelerate Nigeria's socio-economic development. Professor Adejumo, a professor of animal psychology and frontline politician, made the call while featuring on BCOS Television's monthly flagship program, Guest of the Month. He reflected on his more than 4 decades of academic and public service, while highlighting challenges confronting Nigeria's education and agricultural sectors. Our correspondent, Oluyole, brings excerpts from the program.
The August edition of BCOS Radio and Television flagship program, Guest of the Month, featured Professor Soji Adejumo, who shared his perspectives on education, agriculture, food security, governance, and national development. Reflecting on his educational journey, Professor Adejumo recalled benefiting from government scholarship from secondary school through university. He stressed the need for sustained investment in education, noting that university require adequate funding, infrastructure, and qualified personnel to deliver quality education.
It is at the expense of the development of the infrastructure of those universities. That is why you find a lot of other universities struggling to meet even international standards. Even today, I can't count of any university in Nigeria today that has international students. And we can't deliver the kind of education that can attract international students, and that is a sad, reality right now.
Professor Adejumo also advocated realistic and sustainable approaches to making higher education accessible without compromising standards. Turning to agriculture and food security, he called for measures to reduce the financial burden on farmers, including improved access to tractors and other agricultural support. He said such intervention will ease farming operations and encourage
put together the right framework. If it takes 1 year, this is where we can have ranches, grazing, paddocks for our animals. Put all of that there and show how you can sustain them. 1 year can do that, and that's why universities come into play. You have a Federal University of Agriculture. That's in Abeokuta. And University of Ibadan. You have LAUTECH, you have all of that. Engage all these academics. How much are you going to pay them? They will map out all this for government at very reasonable cost. Then when all that is in place, ban grazing.
The former SUPEP chairman further urged local government to identify and register young people interested in agriculture and provide the support needed to engage them in the sector. He also emphasized the importance of livestock development in strengthening Nigerians' food security and reducing dependency on food import. For Professor Adejumo, prioritizing education, agriculture, skills development, and human capital remains critical to building a productive and sustainable nation. His message is clear: sustained investment in people and key sectors of the economy is essential to unlocking Nigerians' development potential. Oluyole, BCOS News.
Following the killing of state, Governor Caleb Mofwang has directed security agencies to intensify surveillance and patrols in the affected community. The directive followed the attack on the community in the early hours of today, which left several residents dead and others injured, while homes and farmlands were reportedly destroyed. The Plateau State Government, in a statement signed by the Commissioner for Information and Communication, Right Honorable Joyce Ramnap, condemned the attack and described the incident as a disturbing development capable of threatening the peace and security being consolidated across the state. Governor Mofwang sympathized with the residents and families affected by the attack and called on the people to remain calm, warning against reprisal attacks and taking the laws into their own hands.
On the foreign scene, a school shooting in the southern Philippines has left 1 student dead after a grade 9 student live-streamed the attack before taking his own life. The The development has prompted Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to order an investigation and measures to prevent further violence in schools. Foreign Desk Editor Folashade Akintola compiled the story and others as presented by Bimbo Akombi.
Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ordered law enforcement agencies to investigate and to determine measures to be taken to prevent violence in schools. The shooting took place at a school attached to the privately run Ateneo do Zamboanga University in the city of Zamboanga, where the gunman brought a pistol and a rifle into the school campus and fired at students inside the classroom. According to a preliminary police report, the motive was not immediately clear, but the senior customs official told reporters that the shooter used a .40 caliber pistol issued by the Bureau of Customs to the student's father, a customs official who has since been relieved from his post. A second weapon recovered from the scene was a licensed personal firearm, also owned by the shooter's father, the official said. The victim was a male grade 10 student, police said. The gunman, a grade 9 student, killed himself, police said. Wildfires burned nearly 95,000 hectares of land in Indonesia in July alone, almost doubling the area affected during the previous 6 months as an intensifying El Nino weather pattern fueled dry conditions, Forestry Ministry data showed on Tuesday. The fires brought the total area affected by wildfires from January through July to 202,004 hectares, that is about 499,162 acres, up sharply from 107,465 hectares recorded through June. Forestry Minister Raja Julie Anthony told a parliamentary hearing that the intensity of the El Nino index had by mid-August already surpassed levels recorded in 2015, when Indonesia experienced one of its most severe fire seasons. Despite the worsening conditions, the area affected by fires remained well below the 2015 level. About 600,000 hectares had been damaged by wildfires during the same period that year. The government has carried out weather modification operations in provinces considered vulnerable to wildfires between February and July as part of efforts to reduce fire risks and encourage rainfall. Indonesia's weather agency expects the El Nino conditions to persist into early 2027, with the critical period for forest and land fires expected to peak between August and September. Authorities are also preparing to reopen Bromo National Park on Java Island after containing wildfires that affected more than 1,100 hectares of land in the popular tourist destination. Finally, 8 airstrikes have hit an airbase in Idlib in northwestern Syria, causing damage and no casualties, Syrian state media reports. The airstrikes hit the runway of the Abu al-Dohou military base in Idlib's eastern countryside early on Tuesday, according to state television reports. It is the first attack on the airbase since the fall of Bashar al-Assad's government in December 2024. State TV quoted a military source as saying Israeli forces carried out the attacks. There was no immediate comment from the Israeli military. Abu al-Dahou airbase suffered extensive destruction during the 14 years of the Syrian war. Opposition forces took control of it in 2015 after fighting with government forces. In 2019, it was recaptured by forces loyal to al-Assad, but the base was not functional due to significant damage it sustained throughout the war. Bimbo Akombi, BCUS News.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the main points. The Inspector General of Police, Tunde Disu, has warned Nigerians against taking the law into their own hands, declaring that anyone who assaults or kills a suspect